We look around, we know you're there. Grant us comfort, grant us care. We are together, though we're apart. We can reach out with all our heart. Hine matov umanaim, free from fear and illness. It is our dream. Shevet achim gam yachad. We ask for healing, Adonai our God. We look around, we know you're there. Grant us comfort, grant us care. Grant us comfort, grant us care.
All right, so Becky, you were supposed to remind me of one thing before we started, which was to unmute us.
Oh.
So we gave all the announcements. Nobody heard us.
Right now.
But you know what? This is a good message. So this weekend, our amazing crew, known as Lee and my husband Jeremy, are going to come in and install new cameras that we're going to have remote operator who is going to make sure we are heard and seen, and we won't have to rely on me anymore.
We were just trying to bring in the Shabbos stillness and quietness in your heart.
It's true. So I'm glad you stuck around. We still have many people on the live stream. I apologize that you missed the announcements. I'll put them. Maybe I'll announce the really important stuff at the end again, and then I'll put a little text in at the end so that you know about all the adult ed and religious school and all the things that are happening this week. And we just sang Hine Matov. We are together, though we're apart. And now we are really together because we are hearing each other. So let's continue by lighting the Shabbat candles now that you can hear us. We are going to continue on page 120. As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we, in our own day, be among those who kindle light. We enter this sanctuary to welcome Shabbat. Within these virtual walls, we sit surrounded by numberless generations. Our ancestors built the synagogue as a visible sign of God's presence in the midst. Throughout our long history and our endless wanderings, it has endured, a beacon of truth, love, and justice for all humanity. Its presence guided our ancestors to lives of righteousness, holding up to them a vision of their truer selves. Now we, in turn, come into this virtual sanctuary to affirm the sacredness of our lives. May we enter this place in peace. May holiness wrap around us as we cross its threshold. Weariness, doubt, and flaws within our human hearts, the harshness of the weak, let them drop away at the door. In the brightness of Shabbat, let peace settle upon us as we lift our hearts in prayer. We continue with Lecha Dodi, page 138.
Lecha Dodi, likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat, nekabela. Lecha Dodi, likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat, nekabela. שמור בזכור בדיבורך ישמיענו אל המלוכה הרוני אחד ושמו אחד לשם ותפארת תהילה לך דודי לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה לך דודי לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה התעוררי כי בעורף קומי אורי שיר דברי כבוד אדוני עלייך נקרא לך דודי לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה לך דודי לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה
We rise to greet the Shabbat bride.
בואי ושלום עצרת בעלה גם בשמחה ובצום עולה תוך אמוני עם סגולה בואי חלה לך דודי לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה לך דודי לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה
Yes, that was a new melody. You may hear a couple tonight. Please let us know whether or not you like them. We'll still probably do them, but we'll do them more if we know you like them. We continue. Please don't get seated just yet. We're moving on to the Baruch Hu on page 146.
Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch dark roll into light. Night becomes day, day turns to night.
You can be seated, and we'll continue on page 154 with Ve'ahavta.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בהם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובישעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Adonai Elohechem Emet. In a world torn by violence and pain, a world far from wholeness and peace, give us the courage to say, Adonai, there is one God in heaven and earth. The high heavens declare your glory. May earth reveal your justice and love. From bondage in Egypt we were delivered at Sinai. We bound ourselves to your way. Inspired by prophets and instructed by sages, time and again we overcame oppressive forces. Though our failings are many and our faults are great, it has been our glory to bear witness to our God, keeping alive in dark ages your vision of a world redeemed. Let us continue to work for the day when the nations will be one and at peace. Then shall we rejoice as Israel did, singing on the shores of the sea.
La la la
That might have been the first time that you've been on the Bima since you wrote Freedoms on the Way that we didn't do Freedoms on the Way. So
That is a melody we just sung by Alana Arian, a awesome Jewish musician. Check her out.
definitely. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Adonai, help us to walk with good companions, to live with hope in our hearts and eternity in our thoughts, that we may lie down in peace and rise up waiting to do your will.
Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storm. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storm. Hashkiveinu, Adonai Eloheinu. Hashkiveinu leshalom. Ha'amideinu shomreinu lechaim. Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha. Hashkiveinu Adonai Eloheinu. Hashkiveinu leshalom. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms.
As we call upon Shabbat, we think of the joy it brings, the oneg. And so we say, Yismechu v'malachutecha shomrei Shabbat v'korei oneg.
Yismechu v'malachutecha shomrei, shomrei, shomrei Shabbat v'korei oneg Shabbat. Yismechu v'malachutecha shomrei, shomrei, shomrei Shabbat v'korei oneg Shabbat. Mekadeshei Shvi Shabbat. Kulam yitzbe'u
If you danced at home, bonus points for you. Page 164, we rise for the Amidah. We'll begin with an Adonai Sifatai Tiftach. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. And we'll continue silently through page 180 with the words in the Siddur or the words within our heart.
Adonai Sfatai Tiftach, Adonai Sfatai Tiftach, Ufi Yagid Tehilatecha, Ufi Yagid Tehilatecha, Adonai Sfatai Tiftach, Adonai Sfatai Tiftach, Ufi Yagid Tehilatecha, Ufi Yagid Tehilatecha, Adonai Sfatai Tiftach, Adonai Sfatai Tiftach, Ufi Yagid Tehilatecha, Ufi Yagid Tehilatecha.
We continue in silent prayer.
We invite you at this time to share any names in the chat of those you are thinking of who are in need of healing, healing of the body, the mind, the spirit. Feel free to submit those names now or say them aloud or hold them in your heart.
We think of Eddie Goldman, Joan Wahlberg, Shirley Brotbauer, Chaim Shneur Zalman, Yehuda ben Hinda Yochebed, Brad Stonecipher, Zev Nadler, Hilary Dumovic, Rob Dumovic, Shirley Ruiz, Susie Cerno, Alan Miller, Rachel Sloan. Dorsey Weiss, Kurt Plotkin, Robin Pence. Stuart Baker, Mindy Nanny, Ron Hildebrandt. Gert Mann. Doris Loesch. Jane Cranston. Irene Vogel. Harvey Scher. Barbara Bash. Chris Finsblad. Mark Greb. Rachel Tigrit. Nancy and Paul Maharis. Kurt Plotkin. Chris Fainblatt. Jean Schneider. Julie Yanez. Bob Tanita. Donald Schwartz, Marianne Troco. Cindy Carrig, David Goldstein, Andy Barron. Baby Ariel, Yaakov Traeger. Karen Fleischer. Rich Krasen, Don Unger, Bob Shaffrin, Justin Kleiman, Laura Grau.
Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
We think of all those who are in need of our healing prayers. Well, this might be my first pandemic Devar Torah. We'll welcome Rabbi Axelrod back to the Bima next week. Where are you right now? How do you feel? Are you struggling physically, emotionally, intellectually? Me too. This pandemic has gotten the best of a lot of us. What we thought would be a couple of weeks has gone on months and is about to hit a year in fear, isolation, and uncertainty. We have done our best to find slivers of silver linings, meaningful moments, and hopeful signs for our future. And maybe, hopefully, it's been a great year. But I think all of us can agree we are all in a place we've never been before. Really, though, could you have imagined we would spend a year not seeing our family and friends, not attending functions, not taking trips? And when you left the house, you had to wear a mask? That is a major shock we were not prepared for. So if you managed to make it through this year fairly unscathed, you may not have thrived, but you certainly survived. And that is enough. Between Zoom happy hours, group texts sharing ridiculous quarantine memes, hiding in your room to escape a spouse or child, working or studying from home, baking mountains of treats, and taking drives to nowhere, we have figured out how to get through this with a fake smile. Parallel to the pandemic, another trend has stolen a piece of our attention and perhaps made us feel less of ourselves. In the Torah portion this week, Yitro, the 22nd anniversary of me becoming a bat mitzvah, on this very bima, we learn the commandments on how to live our best life. One of those very important charges is lo tachmod beit re'echa, not to cover your neighbor's house. We've spent the year literally coveting our neighbors' houses via Zoom backgrounds. We scroll social media to see photos of people who appear to be living their best life. Much of it is actually a facade, but they won't admit to that. We just sit here thinking we didn't do, say, act in a way that impressed. Tiffany Schlein said in her book 24/6, on social media, we're all plants, leaning toward the sunlight we can't get enough of, seeking the warmth of likes, hearts, and retweets. And if we don't, we become the scroller, the Facebook stalker, the one who covets another's home. So how do we get out of this cycle and start actually living our best life, not dependent or comparatively to our friends and family? How do we stop fake smiling our way through this pandemic and make it an authentic one? What if we could spark what shines within each one of us again? Our lives will never be the same, but that's actually okay. We can be a better version of ourselves. The truth is, we must be shaken. Many of us have been coasting through the last few months, lackluster, burnt out, and barely hanging on. Many of us had COVID or other health issues that are lingering both physically and mentally. It is going to take something big to shake us back into truly living again. While spending a lifetime in slavery and escaping in search of freedom is different than our modern-day pandemic, it does lend several parallels that we can relate to. After seeing the miracle of the sea parting and arriving at Mount Sinai, the people entered the wilderness of Sinai, and Moses went up to receive instructions from God. God appeared in lightning, thunder, smoke. There were even trumpets, and more to get this metaphor across that God was speaking and we should listen and do. We too have been shaken this year of virus and isolation. We must take note that we can make a difference as we begin to move forward in life. We must take to heart those commandments that guided our ancestors and make them relevant in our own lives. Having respect for our parents and those in authority who guide us, keeping a day of holiness and rest, refraining from jealousy, the list goes on and on. And if we started with just one, could it help us rise from the fog that this pandemic has put on our brains? The commandments were not meant to be easy. Nothing truly is. They were, however, meant to show our partnership with God, and they were meant to make us not only a better person, but as a whole, our people a better people. Literally, we are in this together. And the good that we do for ourselves affects all who surround us. I don't know about you, but if the task seems attainable, I'm more likely to do it. So while the task of reimagining ourselves might be tough, let's start with some easy steps to regain and reimagine our lives. Let's create attainable actions that lead to sustainable results. I recently stumbled upon an equation for how to cope during this time and prevent the onset of things like PTSD. The equation is think, feel, question, heal. It is said to be a calming mechanism for the high amounts of anxiety this pandemic has caused for so many of us. So let's start with step one, think. Sometimes we end up down rabbit holes and unsure how to get out of them. If we begin to become in tune with those thoughts and recognize ourselves slipping down the hole, we might be able to stop that unhealthy response in its tracks. For example, many times this year, I've witnessed parents who feel helpless to prepare their child with this forced homeschooling method. Their child becomes lost, agitated, or depressed, and they feel responsible. Parents become stuck in a toxic situation filled with stress and resort to their own depression that finds them disconnected with their child, or the polar opposite. Festering feelings make them obsessed with fixing their child's situation. If we find ourselves down a rabbit hole, going to the extreme highs and lows, it's time to check ourselves and our thoughts. Instead of either extreme, the first step is to recognize these thoughts happening and try to engage in a positive train of thought that can affect meaningful resolution. Feelings, that's step 2. Feel. Feelings are good. Have you cried a lot this year? Have you been angry? Are you just constantly finding yourself in survival mode? Notice how all of it is making you feel. Allow yourself emotional and physical sensations. Be in the moment. This note is for all of us. Step away from your Zoom room, your iPhone, your Instagram account, and be present for yourself and for those you love. Therapist Jenny Lynette said, "Being in the moment is what helps us recognize what's bothering us or what's important to us, to recognize and work through those feelings if needed, and to complete the healing process." This one is big for me. The rabbi and I have seen our fair share of death and illness these past 11 months, more than any other year. We grieve with every family, and no matter how hard we try, we do take a piece of it home with us. Sometimes I go about my day and the sadness sneaks in. I have to acknowledge it, take a walk, breathe. I have to be in the moment and feel it. Many of us have experienced loss. I hate to say it, but most of us have lost someone to COVID or something else this past year. We say, "I'm fine," but it's okay to acknowledge that you're not. And when those feelings bubble to the surface, acknowledge that too. It is even recommended that if you are faced with a traumatic situation, doing mind-body practices like yoga, tai chi, and meditation can be the difference between resilience and distress. Some other helpful hints are not to abuse drugs or alcohol or any excessive behaviors. They get in the way of us noticing our feelings and become an active way to avoid them. Journaling, reaching out to your community, and returning to coping skills that have worked in the past, that is a great resource. Now we have step 3, questioning. After feeling and thinking deeply, the step of questioning becomes the most important. Don't get stuck in the what ifs or the doom and gloom. Remind yourself that you are an incredible person who happens to be going through a rough moment. Don't allow your negative tape to play in your head, and instead, question your thoughts and feelings. For example, questions like this might help you. Would I realistically expect anyone else to deal with this situation any better? Or has the world gotten through difficult things before in history, so can't I get better too? Or what things have I already survived that could prove that I could get through this too? By actively questioning your negative thoughts, you can begin to heal them, which leads to step 4, healing. It is instinctual for us to think addressing trauma needs to begin right away after the trauma occurs. In actuality, it is shown that debriefing or pressuring people to tell their story in the initial stages of healing isn't actually very helpful. We have to spend time sitting with what we are experiencing and going through steps 1 through 3 in order to achieve step 4, which is healing. To sum this all up, remember that it is normal to have feelings during and after a tragedy. This is an inescapable human reaction. If we don't allow our feelings to happen, they will present in other unhealthy ways. And note that physical sensations are connected to emotions. Be mindful in accepting both. Notice when our thoughts are jumping to conclusions, especially extreme ones, about yourself and the world. Accept that these thoughts are our brain trying to cope, but we don't have to believe every single one of those thoughts. As we notice these unrealistic thoughts, begin to question them. If we continue to struggle with this, talk to supportive friends and/or find a trauma-focused counselor familiar with the process. Allow ourselves time and make use of our natural and healthy coping skills. Whatever we normally do to manage stress and take care of ourselves can be the key to supporting our healing now. While we haven't all lived through a pandemic before, many of us have dealt with crises, traumas, and difficult moments in life. We can do that now too. We can't accept negative conclusions as fact. We will get through this together. We are doing enough. We must be kind to ourselves. Our new normal will be better. It'll be a better normal if each of us steps into it optimistically. Find practices that help us feel comforted, content, and holy within ourselves. If we pick one commandment of the 613 presented in this week's Parsha, and we work on incorporating it into our lives, we might find some sense of healing take place. For example, keeping Shabbat. It isn't realistic for many of us to keep Shomer Shabbat, but that's okay. Perhaps creating a Shabbat ritual, like lighting the candles, baking a challah, tuning into services, or even turning off technology or the social media for 25 hours, could be an incredible and recharging experience. Take time to do something you love, to rest, to reflect, and to grow. We deserve it, we need it, and we can reimagine our future if we create the space to do it. Shabbat Shalom.
Rabbi Nachman of Breslov, and significant rabbi in our tradition, taught us the whole world is a very narrow bridge, but the most important thing is not to be afraid. And we've certainly seen that the whole world feels like a very narrow bridge, but fear is inevitable. But we can lean on each other. We can lean on this advice that our Cantor gave us today in order to be that sense of support and to help each other through all of these troubled waters. Kol ha'olam kulo gesher tzar me'od, kol ha'olam gesher tzar me'od, kol ha'olam kulo gesher tzar me'od, kol ha'olam gesher tzar me'od, kol ha'olam kulo gesher tzar me'od, kol ha'olam gesher tzar, kol ha'olam kulo gesher tzar me'od, kol ha'olam gesher v'ha'ikar, v'ha'ikar lo לפחד כלל, לא לפחד והעיקר, והעיקר לא לפחד כלל, לא לפחד like a bridge over troubled water. I will lay me down in like a bridge over troubled water. I will lay me down. והעיקר, והעיקר לא לפחד כלל, לא לפחד
We begin to conclude our service with Aleinu L'Shabeach. It is on us. Please rise.
It's up to us to call ourselves to task, to sing what's good and true, to bring about redemption. It's what we're freed to do. For what's the point of being here if we're not moved to change our ways? Aleinu L'Shabeach. It's time to live our praise.
We are carrying the stories of the ones who came before. What stories will be told of us when we are here no more? We commit ourselves to action. It brings meaning to our days. Aleinu L'Shabeach.
It's time to live our praise. It's up to us to own a vision. We are an answer to a call. It's up to us to live the words we speak for the benefit of all. It's up to us to bow down deeply. There's a broken world to raise. Aleinu L'Shabeach. It's time to live our praise.
ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא.
And now we ask that you remember those who you have loved and lost. Please put names of those you're observing Kaddish and Yortzeit for in the chat now. We observe Kaddish for Benjamin Mayer, David Goldstein, Dr. Frank Gruber, Pernell Moore, Betty Robert, Ruth Golden, Jackie Luster, Sheldon Adelson, Kathy Sullivan, Betty Fox, Harold Waldman, Ina Cagle, Yehuda Dukes, Aryeh Bereket, Tammy Martinez, Zev Ben Yakutiel, Miriam Sevilla, Ruben Pereza. We say Yortzeit for Rory Allender, Sam Barnett, Sarah Bass, Fanny Berger, David Borochoff, Arthur Bromberg, Morton Chase, Morris Chasnick, Charles Cohen, Michael Cohen, F.R. Craycraft, Rose Engel, Seymour Esbin, Steve Lewis Fox, Beverly Frankel, Alan Garbus, Brett Howard Goldstein, Edna Goodman, Randy Hicks, Robert Hutchings, Joseph Kahn, Julius Kravitz, Pauline Crute, Glenn Lawrence, Rose Levenberg, Phil Levinson, Charnia Liebman, Miriam Lifshitz, Barry Linnon, Michael Meyerhoff, Howard Miller, Pete McCogney, Robin Price, Samuel Premack, Marnie Robbins Greenberg, Irving Rugo, Max Rosenberg, William Rosenthal, Thelma Rousseau, Molly Rudin, Jan Sarkin, Vanny Schlesinger, Mark Schoentag, Ann Schwartz, Harry Schwartz, Maurice Skolar, Pauline Silas, Evelyn Simon, Burton Slutsky, Abe Supa, Richard Waxler, Seymour Weissman, Ann Witt, Esther Whitner. We include the names that you've submitted. Michael Westerman, Aryeh Frankel, Albert Garba, Ruth Cranston, Jolly Odence, Charlie Wong, Ruth Felsher, Janet Goldstein, Gregory Berry, we turn to page 598 and rise for the Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah, be'alma divrach irutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala ubizman kariv v'imru amen. Yehi shmei rabba mivorach leolam ulalnei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal shemei dekudsha brichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Ose shalom bimromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us and to all Israel, to which we say amen.
Amen.
All right, so now it's the time for our Kiddush and Motzi. Guess we need a glove. So if you have this at home, we encourage you to raise your glass now. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Amen. And this beautiful baby challah created by Becky. Mann, did you have help at home from anyone?
It was all me.
It was all Becky. All right, so I feel like now I have to do one so that we can show. Yours is probably much tastier. It smells really good. It's very cute, too. It's like perfect for the bima because there's only three of us here. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. Delicious. Okay. So I know you probably missed the announcements. I mean, we said them, but we were on mute, so I don't think you got the announcements. Basically, there's a lot of great adult education this week that's beginning for about 3 weeks ahead with Rabbi Axelrod and Rabbi Olshine. Go on our lvnertamid.org website for all the information and to sign up. Really awesome classes being offered. They start this week. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that has to be noted right now. Oh, Compelling Conversation, save the date, February 17th at 7 p.m. Larry Kuverman is the guest. And religious school begins Sunday in person. So we haven't been in person for a little while. If you feel comfortable, we hope that you send your children back to religious school here on Sundays, 9 a.m. to 10:50, and at 11, if you're going to stay home and still go to religious school, we'll see you virtually in your usual Zoom rooms with your teachers. But please let us know what your plan is. All of the safety protocol will be followed. Check your email, your text, and the video on Facebook to make sure you get all the announcements. I want to thank Becky for being here. This is her second service tonight. She already played Baltimore. Technology is quite amazing. And I want to thank Ricky Reinhardt, our amazing accompanist, for being here as well tonight, and Lee for being here to set us all up. We are really blessed to have such an amazing team of people to help us to bring Shabbat, to bring Judaism to your home. So thank you, both of you. And we'll conclude with Oseh Shalom, praying for peace in this world.
Oseh Shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu. Oseh Shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu. Oseh Shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu.
So we have Torah study, 8:45 with Rabbi Axelrod, and 9:45 Rabbi Olsheim will lead Minyan. We hope to see you there to continue this Shabbat party. Shabbat Shalom.